Hi, I'm Mash Ponigala, brand strategist at Spellbrand. Welcome back to the series on the hero's journey and the audience journey and how these two are connected. How your brand can build strong bonds with your audience using the structure of the hero's journey and what to do in each of the stages. In the previous video, we talked about the innermost cave. This is in the hero's journey, it is the rock bottom of the hero and on their journey. It's a time of self-doubt. It's like pain and all that. But when it comes to audience journey, it does not necessarily have to be the rock bottom. It could be a time of extreme kind of objection, right? It's about, do I really need it? And how your brand can introduce itself in a more of a sales process. Right. In this video, step 8 in the hero's journey is the ordeal. The ordeal is when the hero actually faces something that again is pivotal. It's almost like the inciting incident, the call to action. An ordeal is another call to action, but it creates that pivotal moment between winning and losing, between the success or the failure of that journey. If we look at the movies, for example, in Lord of the Rings, Gollum actually leads Frodo into Shelob's lair, right? There's these giant spiders and all that. And the spider sort of weaves a web around Frodo and hangs him upside down. And in effect, Frodo is almost dead. But of course, Sam sort of frees himself, manages to overcome the spider and then cut open Frodo's kind of cocoon, and Frodo sort of wakes up. He lives. That's an ordeal. So Frodo goes through that ordeal. If you look at Star Wars, for example, so Luke, Han, Chewbacca, they and of course Obi-Wan, they get on to the Death Star. They have entered the innermost cave, so to speak, the previous step, and they've rescued Princess Leia after a bit of skirmish and fights with the troopers. But then Obi-Wan has a fight with Darth Vader and he gets killed. In fact, Obi-Wan does it on purpose. He does that so that he could sort of push that pivot, that ordeal, to put Luke into an ordeal so that he will, then be prompted toward victory. But anyway, so Luke sees Obi-Wan being, killed by Darth Vader with the lightsaber. And that is an ordeal. That he screams and that pains him. That is a pivotal moment. In The Matrix, so Morpheus is held by the agents in a building. And of course, in the previous one, in the innermost cave step, the Oracle tells Leo that he's not the one, he's not the chosen one, and that Morpheus is going to sacrifice his life. So Leo decides to sacrifice his life to save Morpheus. So he comes with Trinity into this building. And then there's this huge action fight, an awesome looking fight, right? This was what, 20 years ago? And it is still probably the best action sequence I've ever seen in a film. And so there's this kind of shooting, the agents, and Neo does this bullet time and he gets hit, by a bullet. I think, one of the bullets just grazes him and he falls. But that is the ordeal. So Neo goes through that ordeal in the process of helping Morpheus. What about your audience then? In the context of your audience, what is their ordeal? Their ordeal is that they've come to the final step. And if you played your steps properly, the previous ones, they're probably at a threshold trying to make a decision between your product, your brand, your service, or a competitor. Maybe they have 2 or 3 different options. And now they're finally deciding who to go with. So this is also a very sales heavy step for you as a brand. And here you cannot hold any punches, right? If you did the previous step properly and you've differentiated yourselves, you've built that brand story, you got the core message framework, you're moving towards the blue ocean or you've already moved to the blue ocean, then this step becomes easy because your client would have realized, your customer, your audience would have realized the importance, how different you are, how it would benefit their life, right? Not about how great you are, because they don't care. They don't care about how great you are. They're more interested in their pain points and how you would help them, how your brand would help them. And of course, here come things like if you're a service company, like copywriting, for example, or brand strategy, like we do. We get on a discovery call, and I then talk to the potential client, just for number one, of course, for their sake, but also for our sake. To like I said in the previous video, to recognize, to identify, to see patterns, to see any flags that might say these are not the right kind of clients for us. Also to see maybe we're not the right kind of agency for them, to create their strategy. So this could also be where, quotations are given out, the pricing, discounts. Well, we don't offer any discounts, but typically for product services, you could be offering discounts, and you could be saying, well, this is my offer to you. Would you like to take it? So this is a fairly sales heavy process. It can be done in many different number of ways. The action stuff, of course, is to consider the context, right? You know your product, you know your customer better than anyone else. Now, so which of these is likely to be the archetype? So you're looking at archetypes and you're saying, what is it? What is stopping them from pulling the trigger? Is it a lack of need? Is it a lack of budget or lack of trust? Lack of urgency. Now, one point to note here, you don't want to create false urgency. You don't want to create false scarcity. I see this all over the internet, and it really pisses me off, because you see sales kind of campaigns or advertising or videos, webinars where they have a digital product, right? It's a digital product, for God's sake. It could be a course or something. And they say limited quantity, right? It's the last few. Buy it right now. The next 2 hours or the next hour. If it's a webinar, they say by the end of this webinar, and after that, we're going to close the gates. We're not going to. Why? Why? How could you close the gates on a digital product? Of course, people might have an argument, and they might say, well, we don't want to take more. We want to take only a certain number of people for that course because we have a Facebook group and where we provide more value. Fair enough. But the way it is marketed is done really badly. You're putting pressure on, artificial pressure of scarcity, of, you're pushing the client. And most often you realize that even if they do end up buying, it leaves a bad taste in the mouth. And the moment they realize that, they're looking for a refund and so on and so forth. But anyway, so don't do that. It's not about putting artificial scarcity or fake kind of, scarcity, but it is about genuine way of making this offer to the client, saying, this is my offer, take it or leave it, right? If it's a service, if it's a product, this is a discount. This is how it stands. Look at Leica. They don't offer any discounts. Leica cameras are expensive. It's for a very thin margin of the photographic kind of market segment. And yet they keep on increasing their prices and not reducing them. They stand on their product because they know, and they've played the entire journey properly. Their messaging, their branding, everything is on point. They come to a stage, at this stage, for example, the Ordeal is they know that if a person wants to buy a Leica, they will. The only thing probably stopping them is that they don't have the money for it. If they don't, they don't. They're not going to offer a discount to encourage people to buy their product. No, in fact, they bump up their prices. So have a think about it. Be very careful in terms of the context. Identify patterns, right? Like you want to identify kind of objections. Again, what is the final objection? How can you help address it? If you need to address it, do you need to address it at all? And then, of course, here you go for the final kind of sale, or at least the offer. The sale doesn't happen in this stage. It happens in the next stage. But this is, you've done all you can, right? You've given that. And if you've sort of connected all the dots properly so far, the sale is almost done. It's as good as done. Okay. The next step of the hero's journey is the reward. This is the penultimate step, and we will talk about it in the next video.